Good evening. It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023, and coming to you from Studio 1A at Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show. Good evening. I'm your host, David Lamb. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
You know, I'm watching the pregame here for the NBA for Game 3, and they got Adam Silver on the set. He is still a goofy-looking guy.
He's always been a goofy-looking dude.
He's nice, and I think he's done wonderful things for NBA, but he's a goofy-looking guy.
Yeah, he might be the best commissioner in all of the major American sports.
Oh, we might have to talk about that.
I don't think there's a lot to talk about. Everyone hates Roger Goodell. Rob Manfred's a joke, right? And I'm not including hockey because it's not an American sport.
What we might have to do is say who was the best one ever.
Well, that's true.
Because then,
I can't really talk about that because David Stern sucked. Well,
no, but I mean, yeah,
he didn't, but he did. But then everyone else before that I wasn't alive for.
That's true. Well, okay, so let's back up because today we're going to talk about greatest athletes in sports history.
Yeah.
Are all of yours still living? Are all of yours still current, modern day ish?
They're all still alive, but most of them don't play sports anymore.
Okay, but you have probably a more contemporary list than I do.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think the oldest person in here was somewhere in the 80s. Was when they were kicking it.
Okay, all right, 10-4. That'll be interesting. That's coming up at the end of the show. But we're on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lambsports.com. I want to get the trivia question out of the way because we have some stuff to talk about. But the Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates is, name the only athlete to ever win a championship in two major U.S. sports. There you go. There's only one that's ever won a championship in two major U.S. sports, and I'm talking about baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Right?
Interesting. Well, it's definitely not a hockey player, so.
So there you go. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Interesting.
That's a tough one. It's a tough question. So that's a difficulty level 6, right there, out of 7. I don't know. I don't have a scale. I just am making it up. So things we're going to talk about today: the NBA Finals. Game 2 goes to Miami. Game 3 is right now, or shortly. Formula 1 was in Spain, and kind of ended how you thought it would end. NHL Finals have 2 games complete. Our debate about the greatest athletes in sports history is coming up at the end of the show. But we have a bigger story to talk about tonight. And that is that shortly after 10 a.m. Eastern time. Oh, why is Greg the first one? He's not supposed to be the first one.
Why not?
It was supposed to be here. Okay. Shortly after 10 a.m. Eastern time Tuesday, PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan appeared with Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who's the governor of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF. That's how we're going to refer to it from now on. So the PIF is who is financing LIV Golf, or LIV Golf, if you want to call it that. They appeared on CNBC and announced that the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, which used to be the European Tour, and LIV Golf would merge to form one entity. The PIF will become the leading investor of the yet-to-be-named entity, will also become a premier corporate sponsor of the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and other international tours. It was a 180-degree turnaround, let's say, from probably just a few weeks ago, even, for the PGA Tour. It was unexpected in that the players found out kind of secondhand via Twitter, and via CNBC made this announcement. They put out a statement saying this was going to happen, and then they had the actual thing. But the players kind of find out secondhand, and then they have a meeting yesterday afternoon ahead of the RBC. It's in Toronto at the RBC Canadian Open. They had a players meeting, and Jay Monahan addressed them directly and told them what was happening. And apparently there's some hard feelings in there, and some people are calling for him to not be the commissioner anymore. because maybe he was less than truthful or dishonest. Anyway, all of this aside, it's it's interesting that there's a timeline here of things. First of all, your first impression about what happened.
Money wins.
Money wins. All right, I like it.
Money always wins. This guy sat there and told everybody how awful these people were and how it was ruining the sport.
Yeah.
And all of this just lies. And it was lies. And we knew it was lies at the time because we knew that the PGA was taking money from unscrupulous characters as well.
Right.
So he was just lying because he's trying to appeal to the base, your average 40 to 65 white male who might watch the PGA or go watch the PGA.
Yeah.
You're just trying to appeal to those people and let them know, well, this is an American thing, and the patriotism and the 9/11 and Saudi blood and blah, 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 and all this garbage.
Yeah.
While they were still getting that money and stuff like that, and then when an opportunity came to capitalize, he definitely took it.
Yeah. It's interesting. He's been called a hypocrite, and he's going to talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to play one clip from him when he's talking about this. But it's so let me just let's background. There's lawsuits on both sides. The PGA Tour sued LIV Golf. Yeah, you interfered with our players, right? You gave them contracts when they were under contract with us. Even though the PGA, let's back up. The PGA Tour is a not-for-profit organization.
Okay. How that happens.
I don't either, but they are a not-for-profit organization. The employees are not employees; they are contractors. They sign a contract. Your golfer is a contract who's given a license. After he signs the contract, he can get a license to play golf for the company, for the organization. Let's call them that.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this works. So they're not employees by any stretch of the imagination. And yet the PGA Tour sets unrealistic expectations. You will play in this many events. We will grant you an exemption to not play in an event if there's a conflicting something on the schedule, but you have to apply for a thing saying there's a conflicting thing, and we have to approve it. We don't necessarily have to approve it. So they make them play, I don't know, 40 tour events a year. And it sounds, to the casual person who golfs, it's like, oh God, I would give my right leg to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because all you do is play golf for a living. It is not
Sounds
as much. It's not as easy. There's a lot more practice. There's a lot more conditioning. There's a lot more things, just like every professional sport. Plus, the sport itself, the actual round itself, takes, in this case, 5+ hours.
Well, I was gonna say that's if you believe that golf is in itself easy.
Right, and golf is not easy. It is one of the hardest. One of the hardest things. It's like hitting a baseball, right? I mean, hitting a baseball is not easy. It's easy to throw a baseball. It is not easy to hit one. Timing, mechanics, the physics, all that kind of stuff. Golf is the same way. Yeah, the ball's not moving, but it's tiny. And it's a long ways from your body, and you're trying to hit it with a little tiny club head. I mean, there's a lot of room for error there. And if you've ever played golf, you know that. But anyway, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. What happened was these lawsuits had happened. PGA says, hey, you're interfering with our world. We don't like it. Right? And LIV Golf says, hey, you're trying to block players from coming to us of their own free will. You're independent contractors who are not your employees, right? You can't just rule all of golf. That is not how this works. We're allowed to be an entity.
Right.
And so Friday, the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit for California denied the PGA's motion to dismiss one of LIV Golf's lawsuit, therefore allowing it to proceed. That being the case, now it becomes an actual court case, which means there's going to be discovery. The discovery phase of a court case, if anybody doesn't know, is you have to provide information to the other side if they ask for it. Right?
Within reason.
Within reason, as long as it pertains to the actual merit of why you're suing.
Or their defense in this
case. Right, or their defense, right, exactly. So there are skeletons in the closet of the PGA that they don't want out. I guarantee that. And it would come out in discovery. So the fact that the appeals court said, "Oh, this is okay. You can actually sue them," is a bad step for the PGA. And then immediately come Tuesday, we're dealing with a merger. You see what I'm
It's like,
saying?
well, actually, maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, well, maybe we should. And so one of the things that they were clearly emphasizing was that this ends all litigation on both sides,
Right.
because that was the problem. That this was going to go on for a long time, was going to cost both sides a lot of money, and the Saudis have a lot more money than the PGA Tour has.
It's a nonprofit.
And
in theory,
yeah,
it has no extra money.
in theory they don't have money for lawyers, right? So the Saudi government, the PIF, was going to have more money than them, and there was no way they were going to back down. They were going to go through with it all the way, and I'm sure that pressure is what brought the PGA Tour to say, okay, well, if you throw that money at us, we'll find a way to change direction and say, okay, well, this is, we want to better the game, and it's better unified than it is apart. All that being said, let's hear a little bit from Jay Monahan. Can we do that?
Yep.
Here's a comment from him when he was sort of a news briefing, I guess, if you want to talk about it, in Toronto.
Saying that I don't think it's right or sustainable to have this tension in our sport, and to be able to organize and orient this in a way where, again, we're in a control position. We have an investor, a great and world-class investor, and I recognize everything that I've said in the past and in my prior positions. I recognize that people are going to call me a hypocrite, and anytime I've said anything, I said it with the information I had at that moment, and I said it based on someone that's trying to compete for the PGA Tour and our players.
So that's what he said. So his job is basically to promote the PGA Tour and to help the players make money. That is what the commissioner's job is. And by doing this, he's doing that. Let's be honest, because they're going to have a lot more money with the Saudi money. However, their statement all along has been, how can you possibly leave us and go there and take blood money from people who kill journalists and, have human rights violations and that kind of stuff? Yeah, but you're taking the same money now. So now you do sound like a hypocrite. But he's owning it. He knows it's going to be hypocritical. He knows what it's going to sound like. He can't avoid that. I mean, that's... He
said like the information, the things I said, I said with the information, provided to me at the time. And it's like, well, what new information do you have? The information that they can sue you now?
Yes, that is the new information, that the lawsuit can go forward.
That's the new information. All of a sudden, they can sue you, and you're like, well, now with this new information,
yeah,
we think this is the safest bet.
And I think the new information is such that it would cost you so much money to defend yourself from this that it's just not sustainable, because you've already announced this over the last year. Oh, we're going to up the prize money. Oh, well, that's what the people that left for LIV Golf were asking for. We want bigger.
How crappy, man! All those people who stuck around
and
who listened to the PGA and stuck around, and then they get shafted financially. Like for the last 2 years, they could have been making $40-50 million a year, and instead they were making comparatively peas over here. So
it was a paltry $1 million last year. Anyway.
How dare they?
Yeah, that's another thing that they were asking, and another thing they're going to have to address is, what are you going to do for Tiger Woods, who turned down this thing, saying, oh, well, the PGA Tour and the history, and you guys are forgetting about how you got here, and he said all the right things to defend the PGA Tour, but was probably offered $300 million to go do this.
Probably. Well, there was a report out there that Rory was offered like 100.
Yeah, because Phil was offered 2.
Yeah.
And if Phil was offered 2, Tiger's worth at least 3.
At least on name alone, you're going to sell 60% of your tickets.
Maybe $500 million is my guess.
Yeah.
As much as that. But he quote unquote said the right things and did the right things, and now you've punished him by saying, oh no, you can't. Thanks for sticking by us.
Susceptible to a lawsuit from
the
question. A PGA Players Association?
That's the question.
Or the PGA team, do they even have a players
association? They don't have a union. They have a player advisory board that meets with the board of directors for the organization for the PGA Tour.
Oh, maybe the PAB, the player advisory board, will sue the PGA saying, well, you cost
cost us this
estimated
much
amount
money.
of this
Yeah.
for this person, this person.
So-
So you're going to pay these guys out.
Here's what I think is going to
Look for it.
here's what I think is going to happen without anybody saying anything. The PIF is going to quote unquote gift the PGA Tour X amount of dollars, and they're going to distribute it between the players based on their, I guess, worth, shall we say.
Their ranking or something. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's going to happen under the table, and you're not going to see it. But that's the only way you're going to placate some of these guys. I would be angry if the LIV came to me and said, hey, we'll give you $50 million to come play golf for us for 2 years. Oh, okay. That's more than I'm going to make on the PGA Tour. Plus, I get the prize money if I make more than that, right? Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know, plus the team prize money. That's the other thing. There's going to be a team format adopted into this whole thing, which the LIV uses and PGA Tour
Yeah.
does not. But somehow they're going to adopt a team format, which I like, to be honest with you. I think that's great. Because that
have
makes
like an individual championship and like a team
Yeah.
championship.
well, the team format in the same tournament means that the guy who's finishing 67th, there's an incentive for him to finish 66th.
Right.
You know what I mean? One more point or one less stroke could mean the difference between their team winning or losing. And that
Right.
makes it relevant as opposed to just the top 3 or 4 guys you see on late Sunday afternoon playing golf. And one of those guys is going to win a crap ton of money. And the loser's going to go, boo-hoo, I lost the championship. I'm still going home with $750,000. Yeah. So anyway.
What a job.
It's a terrible job. And I'm going to look because I don't know the answer to this. I have to look after this. But if you just play this, I researched this a long time ago. If you can play on the PGA Tour and you can finish 20th at every event, 20th, and you play in 40 events a year, you'll make $2 million
Not bad.
being the 20th best golfer in the world. You don't have to be in the top 10.
20th best.
20th best. I'm 20th best, and I make I make 7 figures a year playing golf. I mean, and plus sponsorships and all the other crap that's going to happen. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be great. You just have to be good to make a lot of money on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
So it helps if you win every once in a while. But all right,
It's
so
true.
so let's so there's more people to hear from. So this is PIF. I guess chairman. I don't know what you want to call him. Governor. He's the PIF governor, Yasser Al Rumayyan, who also, by the way, owns the PIF owns a part of the Tottenham Hotspurs in the English Premier League, amongst other things. They're trying to go big into sports and buy things, and they've got the money to do it. So I don't know if anybody's going to stop them. What's to keep them from buying an NFL team or an NBA team? I mean, probably nothing. But
Yeah.
they've been doing it. Rory. Let's talk about Rory McIlroy, who's been the biggest defender of the PGA Tour for a long time. Rory had some crap to say ahead of the Canadian Open. He said it earlier this morning. Yeah. So Rory has said some bad things about LIV Golf, but here's one of them.
What do you say to fans who are disappointed in this deal?
But it's not LIV. I think that's the thing. I still hate LIV. Like, I hate LIV. Like, I hope it goes away, and I would fully expect that it does. And I think that's where the distinction here is. This is the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and the PIF. Very different from LIV. All I've tried to do is protect what the PGA Tour is and what the PGA Tour stands for, and I think it will continue to do that. So, look, going forward, I hope that there's, there may be a team element, and you're going to see maybe me, maybe whoever else play in some sort of team golf, but I don't think it'll look anything like LIV has looked, and I think that's a good thing.
Ooh. Still doesn't like it.
So I don't like it.
And you can tell by the way he said, and he rolls his eyes if you watch the video. You see him roll his eyes when he says team and, maybe me, maybe somebody else. He doesn't like the idea of playing team golf. And I don't know why. It has nothing to do with you. You can still play your game and still win your money. But for some reason, he's not a big fan of the LIV format. And he just, anything that has to do with it, it's a no. He's also of the belief that you shouldn't just let the players back into the PGA Tour. That's been another thing. Because at the end of this year, we believe that the LIV Golf will no longer exist. But those players are going to have to come back to either the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour. A lot of players that are on the PGA Tour that have earned spots now are afraid they're going to lose their tour cards because there's only so many to go around. Because these players that come back, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, are going to take their tour card from him. And it's definitely possible. So that's going to be the other question. And what they've said all along is that, well, to get back on the tour, they're going to still have to follow the rules and blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. But what does that mean exactly? What are you trying to say? Brooks Koepka just won your PGA championship. Your PGA champion is a LIV golfer. So, I mean, I don't understand how you would not let him back in.
Yeah, I don't understand how you have defense against it. Like,
No.
he's clearly good. He's
Yeah.
clearly good enough.
Finished second at the Masters, won the PGA championship. He's you know, he can't win world golf ranking points because of the league that he plays in, because you guys fought against it and said no, they shouldn't be allowed to. And now you're partnering with them, and you know that's the other thing. If you're the LIV golfers, do you sue them for the world golf rankings that you should have got? You know,
probably should try.
If you guys hadn't said anything, you know, I mean, there's no reason to combat it, but you didn't want us being highly ranked because you want our league to look like it sucks. And clearly we're good enough to beat you guys. So, I mean, I don't know.
You made a lot of effort into making this look really bad.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort into it. A lot more than it should have, which means it was really a threat. I mean, that's what the bottom line is. Anyway, Rory's a piece of work. I got did I play both of them, or did I just play one?
You played one.
I played one. Let's play the other thing that Rory said today.
And obviously, you're not responsible for what Mr. Monahan says, but you can see why this has stirred up a lot of emotions in fans, right?
Of course. You know, I said it to Jay yesterday. You've galvanized everyone against something, and that thing that you galvanized everyone against, you've now partnered with. So, yeah, of course I understand it. It is hypocritical. It sounds hypocritical. The one thing I would say is, again, whether you like it or not, the PIF and the Saudis want to spend money in the game of golf. It is they want to do this, and they weren't going to stop. So how can, you know, the thing for me, and this is one thing that I've always thought about, how can we get that money into the game but use it the right way? And I think that's what this ultimately will do.
So now you're concerned about how to get that money into the game and make it and have it do the right things. You're not worried about where it came from anymore. You're worried about doing the right thing with it. Like the other guys.
It doesn't matter where it comes from anymore.
No,
you
it
don't
doesn't.
have a choice.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Well, that's the whole problem, is that before it was where it came from. You guys are bad because you're taking money and you know where it came from, and you guys that makes you bad people. And now it's, oh, well, we're going to take the money, obviously, but we're going to do good things with it. Like the other players weren't doing good things with it. Like they didn't donate to charity or have their own foundations or doing that good stuff. It sounds very.
It's a little soft.
Yeah, it's yeah. I guess that's a good term.
But it's a tough position to put him in.
It is. He's absolutely in the worst position possible. He went out and fell on the sword for the PGA Tour, and what has he got for it? He got a kick in the teeth, basically.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
The PGA Tour is saying they're bad, and he's saying, yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, I'm here with you guys.
We're gonna hang out with them. Why would you do that?
Why? But the fact that he said, I still hate LIV, or I still hate LIV. I hate LIV. I mean, come on, man. Why?
I don't think it matters. Like he sat there and told, like, so does he want to seem like a hypocrite in all this? He doesn't have a choice. It's the only thing he can do to not look bad on himself is to stand by his word because the PGA didn't.
You're right. Right. That's true.
So he can just keep saying I hate him until eventually that gets quieter and quieter and goes away.
And there's a handful of PGA Tour golfers who are welcoming this thing. You know what? It's better for golf. We're going to get everybody reunited. It's going to be good for golf. And the money cannot be bad for golf. Right? Yeah, I should have that queued up, huh? But you know, the only person we didn't hear from in this whole thing, by the way, in this whole is
Phil Mickelson.
Well, Greg Norman either. Phil Mickelson actually put out a tweet, said it's a great day for golf when this happened yesterday. Yeah,
it was okay.
But Greg Norman has said zero, absolutely nothing.
He doesn't have a lot to say.
I don't know that he's going to be with. Well, LIV golf is going to go away at the end of the year. I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to fold into the PGA Tour, and they're going to adopt some things that they do and do it better. One thing that I'd like to see is for them to stop having golf tournaments at the same place every year, like a set schedule. You know what I mean? So it rotates around places, because the fact that it came to Portland, that LIV Golf came to Portland, I got to go see an event, was amazing. PGA Tour doesn't come to Portland. Never comes to Portland. Why? I mean, why not?
He came to Pumpkin. It came to Pumpkin Ridge some time ago, right?
No, they had an amateur, U.S. amateur there. They never had the PGA Tour event there. So they had a women's LPGA there. I think they had an LPGA championship there, as a matter of fact. But they used to have an LPGA event out at Riverside Country Club in Portland. And the PGA used to have a non-sanctioned event when Peter Jacobson sponsored the, oh gosh, what was it called? Shoot, I don't remember what the name of it was. But anyway, he sponsored an event that was a Monday-Tuesday event where the guys came and played on Monday and Tuesday and played in teams, two-man teams. And it was a great thing. It was a great thing. You could see PGA Tour golfers. It was great. Mostly his friends would come to play. But
sounds right.
Yeah, but it was, now you don't get that. What you get on the PGA Tour is, we're going to be in Texas this week and Arizona next week and then Florida. And then, you know what I mean? If you live up north, you might get a major, or we might come to Chicago. We come in there once a year. We don't come to the Northwest. There's none in Seattle. There's none in Portland. We don't even visit the Northwest. We don't even go north of Sacramento or San Francisco.
Well, it's not exactly the best golf weather, is it?
There's time. July, August. They did have they had a U.S. Open there.
Yeah, no. Way back when.
No, in Seattle. Like 5 years ago?
I
6
thought you were
years
talking
ago?
about in Portland.
No,
they haven't had an Open since the 60s.
Portland hasn't had a golf event in a long time. PGA Tour event.
Yeah,
but I mean,
they used to have an Open out there.
I think guys would like to not play in Arizona in August, right?
Yeah.
You go north anyway, so I mean the weather in the Northwest is pretty good in July and August. I think good enough to play golf in. But what do I know? Anyway, it would be nice to go be able to watch an event, and that's never happened in my lifetime. I haven't ever been able to go see a PGA Tour event because they don't come to the Northwest. Period. Nearest thing would be Denver.
Yeah.
Which is good for you, but not for me.
Hey, we can come visit me and watch a
there you
PGA
go.
Tour
We
event.
can do it. Overall feeling on this is I think that LIV Golf is a winner. Even though they may cease to exist, the players that are on the tour are getting what they eventually wanted, which was bigger money, and maybe the ability to not play in so many events, to not have to play as much. Everybody would like that. I mean, ask an NBA player, hey, we're going to shorten the season to 50 games for you, but you're still going to make the same amount of money. They'd be on board immediately. Yep.
And you get that PGA Tour branding back on your paychecks.
Right, exactly. So that's a win for them. I think the PGA Tour guys that stuck by the PGA Tour are the losers unless they can find a way to compensate them. And I think Jay Monahan will probably be out before long as commissioner, even because it makes him look bad. It's a bad optic.
He's the only loser really in all of this is how he looks. You could make an argument that the fans are losers if you stuck by PGA and you retweeted stuff criticizing LIV and all that stuff like that. Yeah, they made you look stupid now too.
Right. It's
the same thing as him. But really, from a business standpoint, the PGA won. They got a better partnership, a better deal. They might have to pay more money, but they also have bigger partners now.
Yeah.
It's all kind of worked out for most people.
Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. It is one of the biggest sports stories that I can recall. The NFL merged with the AFL in the 70s, right? And the NBA merged with the ABA also in the 70s. None of those were globally impacted where players are from all over the world. You know what I mean? Back in the day, NBA players were from the United States, maybe Canada, right? It didn't have the global impact. The teams were just United States. You know what I mean? This is not as big a merger as this seems to be, because you're talking about 3 tours that were global, that were everywhere. I mean, the LIV's been to Australia this year. I mean, the PGA Tour doesn't play an Australia event. The European Tour does. The DP World Tour now does. But that's what needs to happen. It needs to be bigger, and that's what I think they're hoping is it'll be a more global franchise. But we'll see. I want to see what the name's going to be. It's going to be
that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be the PGA Tour. They're going to win that out.
Yeah.
But anyway. So there's that. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just a good story. It's a big news story for our, in our day. We haven't had that many gigantic news stories. This is a big one.
Well, I think so. I think it's a decent sized story for today.
Yeah.
But there could easily be something that could overshadow it. And I think when you're looking back in 30 years, it's not going to mean anything, because it's not like because of LIV we didn't get to play the Masters. Because of LIV, this really suffered. Nothing really happened.
It's true.
Players kept playing golf just in different places. And let me tell you, a drive's a drive, whether you're on LIV or PGA, whether you're branded one thing or the next.
Right.
With the ABA and the NBA and the NFL and the AFL merger, well, I don't know about the NFL and the AFL merger, but with the NBA one, you lost teams.
You did.
Teams went away. Teams died because of that.
Yep.
There were whole markets that no longer got sports.
It's true.
Like, it was a little impactful. Nobody is hurting. Nobody's not going to be able to watch John Rahm now. Nobody's not going to be able to watch Brooks Koepka now. You still get the same access you did before.
Right. Only maybe more now, because it'll go back to the way it was, 2.5 years ago.
Exactly. It'll go back to the way it was, and none of this crap will matter.
Yeah, he's just there'll be a lot more money.
I think it's a big story for today, but it'll be a lot more money. I think it's a big story for today, but I don't think it has like the staying power to look back in history and go, gosh, that was a rough time in golf.
I sit and listen to those PGA Tour guys harassing the LIV guys. Oh, is it all about the money? You guys are just worried about money? And I sit here and I think to myself, how many of you guys would be playing professional golf on the PGA Tour if there was no prize money? If it was just for a trophy,
would you do this?
You
for free all the
wouldn't
time?
be here. There's no way any of you would be here. You wouldn't even have pursued this as a career.
Would you go full John Daly with a cigarette and a driver and just do it for free?
I like that, though. I think there ought to be a big man, like a heavyweight tour.
Yeah, it's called the long drive competition.
Well, that's true, but I mean, actual play golf.
Half the time, those little videos are guys who are like, 250 or so, just absolutely yeeting a golf ball.
Well, you got to have enough. I mean, you got to be able to drink a 6-pack beforehand, for sure.
I mean, you got to do that in regular golf anyway.
And yeah. Anyway, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the NBA.
Okay.
Nuggets Heat tied at 1-1 after the Heat won Game 2. 111-108 in Denver on Sunday to even the series. Game 3 is being played right now, which I thought I had an update for, and I just got
14-12 Miami.
14-12, halfway through the first quarter.
Halfway through the first quarter.
So, Game 2 was a better effort offensively from Miami. They shot better from the three-point line.
Right.
I think what they did was said, okay, Nikola, you beat us, but we're not going to let you pass it to anybody, because he only had like 4 assists in Game 2.
Yeah.
Which I mean, what makes him dangerous is not only they can score, he's a really good passer.
Sure.
So I think that what they did was say, oh, you score. He scored 41. I mean,
yeah, they just kind of let him do his thing.
Yeah.
And then when he wasn't on the court, they clamped down.
Right. Exactly. So, and it worked. Plus, you have to be able to shoot the ball. You got to be able to score. Otherwise, you don't win basketball games. But they did that much better. Yeah.
The Nuggets only average 115 a game on the season.
Yeah.
So they scored 109. So they wouldn't fall far below their average.
Well, no, but even in Game 1, they didn't score but 112 or something, right?
Yeah. So this wasn't exactly a surprise. What this was the Heat were hot.
They were knocking down their shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down
to.
The Heat
did not lose a game all season when they've made 15 or more three-pointers.
Well, there
and
you go.
They made 17.
There you go. He's not
the Heat make 15 threes, you are toast.
He's not the best stat man in the game for nothing. Yeah, I still need to see what's going to happen in this game. I always say Game 2 is super important, and I'll tell you why. If you're the home team and you won Game 1, you win Game 2, you pretty much have a stranglehold on the series, right?
Right.
You're up 2-0. It's hard to come back from 2-0. It really is. Not that many teams have done it. There's been a few, but not that many. If you're the away team and you win Game 2 after losing Game 1, you've stolen home court advantage. You only have to win at home the rest of the way. If you're the home team and you lost Game 1, you need to win Game 2. It's a must win.
Right.
If you're the away team and you won Game 1 and you win Game 2, you have the stranglehold on the series. You don't even have to win all the games at home, just 2.
Right.
So Game 2 is extremely, extremely important. The Heat stole away the home court advantage. I'm not saying they're going to win the series. What I am saying is Denver now has to go out and win one in Miami.
Yeah. Doesn't
matter which one, but they have to win at least one.
And they've been good in the playoffs on the road.
Yeah.
But this it could be better.
this made it tighter than I thought it was going to be. Let's put it that way. I figured Denver would win the first 2. Miami would win 1. Okay, maybe they win both of them in Miami the first, and then Denver would win 3 and it'd be 3-2 and then 4-2 or something like that. You know what I mean? But I didn't. This makes it closer early, and puts a lot of pressure on Denver to win one of these 2 in Miami. They have to win one of the 2.
Yeah, all three of their playoff losses before this last one for the Nuggets were on the road. 2 against Phoenix and then 1 against Minnesota. But that being said, they played an overrated Los Angeles Lakers team.
It's true.
And swept them. So that to say that if they would have played a better team there, probably the Mavericks or something like that,
right?
They probably would have lost one of those road games too.
Yeah.
So they're clearly not as good on the road as they are at home.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think they'll be fine.
So game 3 underway right now, and 14-12 Miami. Halfway through the first. That game, by the way, is on ABC if you're watching. So yep, there you go. Or if you're not watching, you want to go watch. NHL. Let's talk about the NHL real quick. NHL has played 2 games in the finals. We haven't talked about either one. But we're not going to spend a ton of time. The Vegas Golden Knights took game 1 5-2, game 2 7-2, and they look awful good doing it.
The look I think is run out.
That's what I was going to say. Is this the slipper break or something for Cinderella? Because Florida was there, and just doesn't look like they can put up with Vegas with the offense.
The thing is that it looked like Florida was riding on adrenaline and fun, and eventually you're going to run into a team who can take the fun out of the game, and when the fun goes out, the adrenaline goes out. And Vegas is pretty methodical, pretty good. They run a lot of like set plays and things like that, and they play fantastic defense. So you have no time to fast break and get a fun goal and things like that. You have to work into it, and that's boring. And boring stuff saps the energy out of you. I think that they've just ran out of energy.
And that's possible. It's hard to sustain that for a long period of time when you had all that energy against Boston. And then another series, and now a third. You know what I mean?
I think Boston they won a couple, and they're like, "Oh crap,
yeah,
we could do this." A little smile crept up on their face, and then they played positively, and then that momentum just carried them.
Right.
Another 2 series.
and here's your stupid news of the day. I'm watching TV earlier, and so we get a broadcast out of Tri-Cities, Washington, right? Which is it's pretty podunk as far as news go, right? I'm watching the news, and the guys on there, they're talking about the Florida Panthers, but only in the context that they have a picture of a lady, of a backyard through a sliding glass window of a Florida Panther on a back patio in Florida. This lady sent in a picture because there was a panther on her back, and then they started talking about Florida Panthers, right?
Right.
And why are they called the Panthers? Well, there are actually Panthers in Florida. They are. Yeah. There are. They have survived somehow or other, moved from the more foresty northern parts. They live in the swampy areas to the south.
They fight gators.
Right. So I don't know if that's true. But it sounds good. A gator versus panther fight. I mean, there's tickets to be sold there. But anyway, so long story short, the news guy says that he's talking to the weather, the meteorologist, right? So the news guy and the meteorologist, and they're talking. The news guy says something about Florida Panthers, and he goes, "It looks like a mountain lion, right?"
Yeah.
He goes, "But they're different, right?" And the meteorologist says, "Yes." And I'm sitting here going, "No, they're exactly the same. It depends on where you're from, what you call it. A panther is a puma, is a mountain lion, is a cougar. They're all the same.
Panthers are larger. Panthers are bigger than mountain
They are
lions.
all the same cat. You can look it up.
I mean, they're from the same family of cat, the same way that a tabby and a what's it called
Nope.
are. Panthers are bigger than mountain lions.
Nope. That may be regional. It depends on where they grew up, but they are the exact same cat. I was listening to a scientist actually tell me this. He goes, they are the exact same cat. It just depends on where you are. If you're in the Northwest, right, that thing's a cougar, right, or a mountain lion.
Right.
If you're in the Rocky Mountains, it's a mountain lion for sure, right? If you're somewhere else, if you're in Florida, it's a panther. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, they're exactly the same cat. And I was like, this is okay. So there you go.
So it could be because they're regional. What's it called? They're because of their region.
Yeah.
So I'm on AtoZAnimals.com.
Right.
Panther versus mountain lion. What are the differences?
Mm-hmm.
And it said, I like how I said that in high pitch. It says the weight of panthers are 79 to 300. The weight of mountain lions are 64 to 198. You're talking about 100-pound difference
Sure.
on the top end of panthers versus mountain lions. They're about the same height, 24 to 30 on a panther
Yep.
at the shoulder, 24 to 36 on the shoulder for a mountain lion. So they're a little taller
Mhm.
at the shoulders. They're about the same length. No, mountain lions are 72 to 96. Panthers are 43 to 96. Much bigger variety. But it says defined species. It says no, their name is assigned to jaguars and leopards alike. And then it says yes, it refers to pumas and cougars.
Right.
Apparently they're distinctly enough different, but they're not categorized differently
right.
in like genus species.
It's because of where they grew up. And so let's think about, if you think about predators, who's the natural enemy of a panther in Florida? Well, maybe a gator.
Probably a gator.
But what else could kill a panther in Florida?
Humans.
Well, obviously
natural.
humans are for all of them. But what else
Yeah.
could kill a panther in Florida? Not much, right?
I can't think of much. I mean, unless you go to a beach and you get eaten by a shark.
Well, I guess, yeah. In the Northwest or the Rocky Mountains, now we're talking about bears. Bears are a
Elk.
predator. And elk,
Moose.
right? Moose. Those kinds could
Yeah.
actually kill one of those. Yeah. So there's more predators out there. Not that an elk is going out there trying to kill panthers or cougars or whatever, but I mean, for self-defense, he could kill one. You know, but anyway, it's just there are more predators, so maybe they don't grow as big.
Yeah.
Because they're not top of the food chain. A grizzly bear probably is.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. I just found it interesting.
The Florida panther is still endangered.
Yes.
Apparently, in 1970, there was only about 20 to 30 still around.
Mm-hmm.
That was all that was left in
I read
1970.
that.
Nowadays, there's about 200, 230.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, so they're increasing in numbers, but they'll never increase numbers too much because think about where all the Florida cities are. They're all around the edges.
Yeah. Yep. And they
eventually you're gonna run into people, and people will euthanize them. So, so you can't have them forever. But yeah, they are increasing.
It's interesting. I think it's an interesting mascot. When it came out, I was like, "Are there panthers in Florida? Really? Is that really a thing?" Apparently, yeah.
That reminds me, I'm going to Boulder this weekend to go hiking, and my coworker was like, "You need to take some bear spray," and I'm like, "Oh, there's bears around there?" And he's like, "No, it's for the mountain lions."
Yeah, well, there are mountain lions,
really?
for sure.
Because I'd rather deal with a bear than a mountain lion.
You feel like you're safer as long as you know what I mean. I don't know what about you.
Bears appear curious,
they're
secure, ill-intended.
And I know a bear can move quickly, but at times they don't. They're kind of lumbering. You know what I mean?
They're kind of passively like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," maybe not.
Yeah, and you feel like you could get away from one if you really needed to, right? But if you're being chased by a panther, a mountain lion, cougar, whatever.
Oh, it's catching you.
Yeah, it's catching you, right? I mean, if it decides it wants to haul you down, it's coming after you, and it's faster, way faster than you are, and more limber. For sure, you didn't limber up enough. I know that's true.
A mountain lion can run 40 to 50 miles an hour and leap as high as 18 feet. There is no athlete we're going to talk about in the whole second part of this show that could escape this bad boy.
That is true. I might have one.
You might have.
I may have
black bears. A lean black bear can run around 30.
Right.
So that's kind of the difference.
Crazy.
That's still
30,
but they're using 4 legs.
But they also got to be on a flat or uphill because if they're running downhill, their front legs are too short and they don't run downhill very well. I mean, there's things going on there. There's forces at work. But anyway,
still, 30 miles an hour is still.
But a bear
so quick. But when it says 30 miles an hour, I'm taking that to mean like that's kind of a top speed someone's clocked it at.
Right.
Like, or maybe like an average top speed.
Right.
But like your majority of your bears, especially, so ones coming out of hibernation are going to be faster because they're leaner. They're also going to be more aggressive. But like, towards September, October, they're heavy because they're packing up for winter. They're not chasing you. But a mountain lion.
Not if they've already packed up. For sure, if they've not already packed up.
How vicious your cats can be.
If they don't, if they haven't packed up for the winter yet, maybe. But yeah, I just picture a bear coming out of hibernation going, "Man, look at me. I lost about 50 pounds. I'm doing all right." And
walking out, I am hungry.
Look at me. Whew. Anyway,
I'm just saying, your cat Link. Could you imagine if he was 200 pounds,
He's close.
could run 50 miles an hour. He is close. Could run 50 miles an hour. Could you imagine if Link could do those things with his craziness?
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous.
You'd probably already be dead.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You'd have pissed him off one too many times.
Yeah. Where's my dinner? That's all it would take. Games 3 and 4 are the same. And this is weird. That's bonus coverage right there. Games 3 and 4 are in Sunrise, Florida. I don't even know where Sunrise, Florida is. I'm assuming that's down by Miami somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Thursday and Saturday, both of those games will be on TNT, and we'll see if they can get back in it. I'm not saying they can because
Sunrise is near Fort Lauderdale.
Is it really? There you go.
That's word of this. Yeah, it's
Sunrise.
between Hollywood and Fort Lauderdale.
Well, there you go.
North of. I mean, these all just sound like retirement towns.
They are.
Springs,
every single one of them.
Boca Raton, Delray Beach,
Del Boca Vista.
Del
Is that the
Boca
one from
Vista.
Seinfeld?
There's not one apartment left at Del Boca Vista.
I like that one.
We're moving to Florida.
Because one of those episodes was coming on, and I think it's the one where Kramer retires and just go. I mean, not that he does anything anyway.
He moves down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
that's right.
It was just coming on tonight.
Every time I think of Del Boca Vista, I just think about the what's it called? The executive.
The executive.
Executive. The duster with no buttons on it.
Right.
Or whatever
Exactly.
It was.
They were trying to
that
sell.
He was keeping in storage.
Yep. Oh my gosh. And then isn't that where
Seinfeld.
What was it? Lloyd Braun? Isn't that the George's rival? The guy that was
Braun.
Yeah, he was selling.
Yeah,
it's
who his parents like.
Yeah, but he was selling I think he was selling the dusters for him out of the garage.
Yeah, the executors. Yep.
Yeah,
the executives. Yep.
Yeah, it was funny. Anyway,
stupid show.
Stupid show. I love that show. Let's talk about Formula One real quick because we can, and I do what I want. Yeah. So surprise, surprise, Max Verstappen wins another Formula One race. This time the Spanish Grand Prix on Sunday. The Mercedes team looked better. Hamilton and Russell. Yeah, Hamilton and Russell finished 2-3. Still not anywhere near the speed of the Red Bull overall. Still have problems. Yeah. Still have a lot of problems for McLaren. And I know you got a rookie in Piastri on one car, so you're not expecting a ton of things from him. But Lando Norris has got issues. I mean, I don't know if it's him or the car or what, but he just can't seem to get it together. He looked good 1 minute. In qualifying, he looked good. And then he didn't. And the next thing you know, he's pitting 7 times in a race because he can't, some damage. He did run into a guy, all right, or two over the last couple races.
All right.
I mean, there's that.
What a way to say that. He did run into a guy. All right, or two.
Maybe more. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem to have it this year for whatever reason. So McLaren is well down the list in terms of the team, the Constructor Series. But I don't know. I just feel like this, next race. Let's talk about it. Next race is in Canada, at the Gilles Villeneuve.
It's a fun track.
Yeah, it is. That'll be a good one. Max Verstappen is your reigning champion. Surprise, surprise. But that comes up. The race is on the 18th of June, Sunday the 18th, so it's a week off because, you got to get those cars over the pond. Anyway, qualifying, it would be on Saturday the 17th. So, and since it's in the northern or western hemisphere, you get some good times here. The race starts at 11 Pacific time, I guess noon your time on Sunday. So, yeah.
That does sound nice.
It does sound nice. Doesn't not having to get up early. You can watch cartoons. There's no cartoons on Sunday, so it doesn't really matter. Qualifying will be 1 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday. So there you go. Yeah, it's I mean,
the question is it, and this is true for any sport, is it boring when one person wins all the time?
It is. I mean,
and more specifically, is it boring when one person wins at a time, fairly uncontested?
It's boring when it's not the guy you're rooting for.
Well, that's 100% true, right? So in this case, you're talking about, let's say it's an equal share of fans. 90% of Formula One fans are bored as hell.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Right. If it's an equal share, it's not. But
if you're Dutch,
but you still want to see But I think I can stand to watch a sport where one person wins all the time if it still seems like another person has
a chance. Yeah. Well,
but for only about 7 or 8 laps every race, somebody has a chance. And
It's true.
then it's kind of gone.
And then it's gone. Yeah, and it's true. You've looked at the dynasties of the other sports. Back when the Celtics were winning all their titles in basketball, back when the UCLA Bruins were winning all of their NCAA titles in a row, winning every game.
Crushing everyone.
The UConn women, right? The UConn women.
For the sport.
Who wants to watch that? Oh yeah, UConn won a conference game today. They played St. Catherine's School for the Blind or whatever, and they beat them 100-10. And you're like, why is that even a conference game? Why? I don't even understand how they can be in the same league. And women's basketball is the worst. Just, this is my little rant. Women's basketball is the worst because you get in the NCAA tournament where you have the 64 quote unquote best teams in basketball. And in the first 2 rounds, you still see scores like that, 80-30. That team shouldn't even be in this tournament. You should not even allow them to be in this tournament. They're in no way, shape, or form prepared to compete against those teams. No, it's not competitive. It's no fun, and you don't want to watch that, right? That's what we're saying. You don't want to watch that.
No, you don't mind watching UConn win over and over again. It's not super fun, but you don't mind watching it. But what you don't want to watch, what you won't watch, is when they win by 50 every time.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Because then when the game's about to come on, or it's like Wednesday, like UConn's playing tonight, they'll probably smoke them.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it unless you're a student going to school there.
You don't need to see it.
Yeah, unless you're getting free tickets. Yeah.
Or unless like women's college basketball is just your jam and you just love every minute of it. But even then, there's still more competitive games on TV to watch.
I do like that. Just your jam.
I just don't. But that's where we're at with Formula One at the moment. And being fair, I didn't watch it when Lewis Hamilton was winning all of his titles.
No.
So I can imagine other people felt this way then. I can imagine there were always people like, oh, Lewis.
Right.
Blah.
Again?
So, again, I don't even need to watch the race. And now those people are like, this is what it was like. And it's like, okay, that's great, but that doesn't make it not boring. You know how boring this is, but people are gloating now about it. It's like, again, if you're not a fan of Red Bull or Max Verstappen, you're watching this right now going, God, I really hope there's a good 2, 3, 4 battle, because if they're not, I'm wasting an hour and a half of my day.
Not. And I record F1. I don't watch it live most of the time because it comes on early.
7 a.m.
So I record it, right, and watch it when I get up. And the best part about that is if the race is boring, I will just click it onto the lowest setting of fast forward, so it takes half the time.
It just speeds on through.
And when I see like a crash happen or there's a bunch of pitting, then I'll stop and watch that part just to see what's going on. Yeah, let's go back. Because I won't watch the whole. I won't sit there and watch lap after lap after lap. Because it's 60, 70 laps. There's no point in that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm excited for Canadian Grand Prix because I'll be able to keep focus. It's at 12:30, so I'll actually be able to watch it. I'm actually really excited about the fact that we have Austin, Vegas, Miami, and Canada. And there's another race that's in Mexico, all in our time zones.
And Brazil, which is Eastern, but yeah.
But all in our time zones, all manageable. Like the earliest any of those races, we got 5 races there, and the earliest one is at like 10.
Right.
That's great.
We're gonna have to. You've never been to one. So
I have never been to one, and I really wanted to go to Vegas this year.
It's too expensive.
Prices were just and they're not going to get any cheaper. The more popular the sport gets, the more. But you know what? I'm married to a doctor, so hopefully that doctor money comes in.
It's going to be a minute or two, but yeah, I
have
think
to ask her for an advance, and
I think
let me go to a race.
I think what we ought to do is you and I ought to just plan on going to Austin. Austin's probably the most affordable race to go to, and just go sit in the grandstands or find a berm seat.
The Miami one had a lot of tickets left.
It did.
I was looking like a week before the race this year.
Yeah.
And they had paddock passes.
Yeah.
And one of the clubs, so it wasn't the main one that's above the thing, but it was like just like at the end of like turn 3 or 4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the clubs was like a combination set for about $2,000 a person.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Did they include?
And I was like, free food and free drinks in the club. Yep. And there's no seats. It's just like a little thing that you can walk out on this little terrace and watch the cars racing by, or there's free food and stuff like that in there. So the only thing that sucks about that is when you make a place open seating or standing room.
Oh yeah.
People like to elbows out and find their spot.
Yeah.
So
but
that being said, $2,000, you go to the race, you get a paddock thing so you can walk the paddock beforehand.
Right. But we could also just go for race day. You know what I mean? Pay one for 1 day ticket, to watch that.
I would do a grandstand ticket.
Yeah,
and
I
go
mean,
pop up in the grandstand for a little while. Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't want to do the main grandstand. I think I'd want to do like
you
an
want to do
end turn.
Yeah, you want a crazy corner somewhere. You want a chicane somewhere where crap's about to go down. That's what you
Well,
want.
they're the best one at like in Miami. What we're talking about. So the best one in Miami is that like weird little quick like fish. It goes to the left and then back to the right and then sweeps down to the right and then comes back in that long last straight.
Yeah.
That is the one where like everyone was wrecking and qualifying and things like that.
Right.
There's no seats there, which
No.
is such a disappointment because that's where I want to sit.
It's by the freeway. It goes like under the freeway and all that. And yeah, there's nothing
I
down
think
there.
you either want to sit there or you want to sit on a straightaway and just. I mean, the sucky thing about straightaways, you can't really see them, like for a quarter of a second, but you get to hear a motor at full bore.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
That's kind of a cool way to think about it.
And 2 years ago, we went to the Austin, the I guess U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, and we were lucky enough to have Paddock Club tickets, and we sat, near enough to the start finish line where when the cars are out there lined up, you're looking right at them, and they start whining, and they all start going, and it's pretty cool because when they go by, it's kind of amazing. You realize how loud it is. You don't see it on the TV so much, but you hear it in person.
Yeah.
And even
and they're nothing compared to the previous V12s.
Oh no,
volumes.
but it is still when you get a whole
Still
pack
incredible.
of them going by, it's just like wow, and it's crazy, and it was a great event. But
Did it? I might have asked this. Does it like vibrate like
a little
a little bit
in the
I'm
Paddock
sure
Club,
they
a little.
kind of build and design the places to not.
we got hosed a little bit because normally the Paddock Club tickets, the reason you have a Paddock Club ticket is you have access to the paddock. You have access behind the stands to the paddock where the people go. But we were at the tail end of COVID, and they were not allowing fans down in the paddock.
But they still charged you for paddock passes.
Well, they're expensive, but the food was amazing. Food and the drink was all included.
Well, we'll keep an eye.
And it was
keep our eye
crazy.
on Austin tickets this year.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll find
we
a
should
way
look.
to. In
Yeah,
October, November. We'll do a dude's trip.
Find a way to go. Yeah, and if LIV comes back to the Western United States at some point in time, they already been to Arizona, but if they come back, they're no LIV, but PGA Tour. Maybe we'll go to a PGA Tour event and watch a golf tournament. It's kind of fun.
PGA IV.
They're fun. You just walk around the golf course all day, basically, and you get a lot of steps in, and you watch a lot of different people. It's a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing. Anyway, all right, let's. We're at the quote unquote halfway point, but we were a long ways in. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Let me go back to this because I don't have pictures to put in here because I thought about it. I was like, well, I have pictures of the people that I have, but you don't because I don't know who yours are and we're hiding them. So let's just
that's the point.
We'll just talk, and people like looking at me anyway. So there's that. How do you want to do this? So first of all, let's talk about this. We're going to talk about the greatest athletes of all time. And this came up last week, kind of out of the blue. I'm not sure how we got on the subject of an athlete and what they do, but
I can't remember exactly. We mentioned a person who's a great athlete, and I said, "Oh, well, we were talking about dual sport baseball, football players. We mentioned Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, guys who might take the money elsewhere."
That's true.
And that guy's talking about great athletes, and I said, "Well, guys who are kind of specific." Baseball players aren't really the best athletes, and then that took us down this whole rabbit hole of good athletes. So that's why I'm curious to hear what you constitute an athlete and what I constitute an athlete.
Well,
I think you should go first, though.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions first.
Yeah.
What did you look for when you made your list?
I looked for somebody who either wasn't limited to one sport or wasn't who does something that requires a lot of different physical attributes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fair. And you're talking about
because I wanted to see somebody who's really good at like a bunch of different things. I can't explain what that.
I know. So what you're saying? What you're saying? I know what you're saying, and I'm going to have some of those same kind of people on my list. So what you're talking about is track and field athletes that do multiple events.
A little bit of that. Yeah. Gymnastics.
Okay, I didn't even put a gymnastic person on here.
These people are strong in a lot of ways,
and they're very athletic. And
very athletic.
But I did not put a single gymnast on this list. So there's that. But if you want me to go first, I'll go first. I can only give you 4 because the 5th one is the answer to the trivia question.
Ooh, I like that.
So I tied them in. So I can give you 4. Let me start with number 4
Okay.
on my list.
Wait,
you ready?
you ranked yours?
I did 1 through 4.
I did not rank mine. I just put
You
them
don't
in
have
there.
to. It's fine.
You know, no, I can do it real quick.
No, it's fine. All right, so
I'll do it while you're talking.
So here you go. So number 4 on my list is Jackie Robinson. So Jackie Robinson,
Nice.
who everybody knows, right? Broke the color barrier, played for the Dodgers, right? He lettered in football, basketball, baseball, and track at UCLA. He was an All-American in football. He was the 2-time Pac-10 leading scorer in basketball. He was an NCAA champ in the long jump.
Right.
He's a 6-time Major League Baseball All-Star, the National League MVP in 1949, the Rookie of the Year in 1947, and he's a career .313 hitter. That's an athlete in my book who did everything. I mean, if you can lead a conference in scoring twice and be a 2-time All-American in football, and those aren't even your best sport,
that's good.
That's crazy. So there you go. That's my number 4.
All right.
Do you want to list one, or do you want me to just keep going?
No, I'll go to my number 5.
Okay.
And we'll kind of work our way down from there.
Sure.
So I approached this a little differently. I didn't look for people who were great at their sports, although incidentally, all of these people are.
Right.
Right. But I was looking for people who do things that are unique. So my number 5 is Katie Ledecky.
Okay.
Who is a physical specimen of a swimmer.
Of a swimmer, yeah.
And swimming, as we all know, is not only one of the best cardiovascular exercises on earth, but swimming at that speed is incredibly difficult, and it requires you to be incredibly strong.
I'm just gonna let you know, you don't have to sell me on the sport. Swimming, I get it.
I wanted to clarify. This is not just for listeners.
Just off my list, by the way, and nobody can see my list, but just off of my list is Michael Phelps.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
I mean, I get it. Swimming is ridiculously
tough.
Hard to swim fast. You know
it's
what I mean?
Tough.
To be good at it.
So that's why Katie Ledecky is my number 5.
I'm on board with Katie Ledecky. I think that's a good pick. I didn't pick swimmers in my top 5. I didn't pick a swimmer, and I didn't pick a gymnast, which obviously I guess you did. But
that's fair, yeah.
Let me go with number 3. Right? Well, maybe you should do number 4 too, and then we'll be even.
Yeah, and then we'll be even. Okay, so my number 4 was, and kind of previously mentioned, at gymnastics, Simone Biles. Incredible. Absolutely. I've watched videos of her 40 times, and she's running 40 times that compete with NFL athletes. Because you got to be just incredibly strong and well-balanced strength. You can't have like too much upper, not enough lower. It's perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. And then on top of that, she has the brain for the sport. She gets how she needs to be, what she needs to do, and things like that. Because that's, I guess, another part of this is like, your athletic IQ goes into
important,
that.
Yeah.
And so Simone Biles falls into my number 4 spot.
And I'm okay with that too. I just didn't. I guess I more or less shied away from people that were, and it sounds weird, but one sport dominant.
I thought about that too. A great example here. I didn't put Michael Jordan on my list. Despite him coming up on everyone's top athlete list.
Yeah.
He is one of the most dominant NBA players of all time. He was absolutely incredible at that one thing.
He struggled to hit 200.
He never tried to do anything else. Yeah,
as a baseball player.
He struggled to play baseball, which is no offense to baseball players, but there's a lot of bad baseball players out there who can make careers out of it.
It's not that he was terrible at baseball. I don't think his heart was in it, to be honest with you. I think he was something like, I want to do this, but you know what I mean? It was too much distraction.
There we get into that whole gambling thing. Like he was not suspended. But,
right.
But so I left him off the list because he was his skills are too specific to one sport. A great example here is the tallest person on my list is 6'4". Once you get above that, you're getting sports specific.
You're becoming a basketball player.
There are no 6'9" track stars.
Or you're a tight end or an offensive lineman.
Right.
Yeah.
You're getting very specific to a thing. As a matter of fact, most of these people kind of hone in right around 6 feet.
Yeah.
So
sounds right.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, that was my number 4, Simone Biles.
Okay, I'm going to give you number 3. You ready?
Yep.
Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Jackie Joyner-Kersee was a 4-year starter in basketball at UCLA, and she was named as one of the 15 best women players to ever play basketball at UCLA.
Right.
She used 8 gold medals in international competition in the heptathlon and long jump. She holds the world record for points in the heptathlon. But not just the world record, she holds the top 6 scores all time in the heptathlon. Yeah. That's 6 different events. She was voted by Sports Illustrated as the greatest female athlete of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Incredible. 6 different individual things that involve running, jumping, throwing. You know what I mean? That kind of athlete is what we're talking about. You know, you can do all these different disciplines, and that to me is is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she played basketball. She played at UCLA, and she was a 4-year starter. And I mean, I'm like, that's crazy. Anyway.
No, that's a good one. I like that. All right, so my number 3 is a local Portland boy. His name is Ashton Eaton. Ashton Eaton. He does the decathlon and the heptathlon or heptathlon.
Heptathlon.
It's so much words.
In the indoor, they do the heptathlon.
Yeah, he's got 2 Olympic gold medals. He's got 8 total medals across Olympics, World Championships, and World Indoor Championships.
Yeah.
He's incredible at what he does. He's in fantastic shape. He's 6'1". You know, not that matters. I don't know why I listed that. He just strikes you as somebody who could really do anything well. He can probably play football if he's got hands.
Right.
He can definitely play basketball. I've seen videos of him playing basketball. I actually watched it in my research. He plays golf pretty well.
Right.
Is it lower handicaps better or higher handicaps better?
In golf?
Yeah.
Lower.
Okay. He's like a 4 handicap.
Right. That's
4,
good.
but which is great for like a public athlete. For a regular golfer that might not be so great. But he just strikes me as one of those guys who's just would be good at anything physical.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's chopping wood or whether it's running 1,000 meters. He's gonna kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good choice too. And of course the duck. So you can't go wrong with an Oregon duck.
Go Ducks.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, black belt in Taekwondo. Ashton Eaton.
He's a black belt in Taekwondo?
Yeah, I'm looking this stuff up as we were talking about it. He's actually a black belt in Taekwondo.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Yep. So, anyway. So, what else do I want to know? State high school 400-meter championship, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it goes on and on. It's a good pick. I mean, because if you can do 10 different events and win a title, you know what I mean, and be good at all of them enough to win a decathlon and not just one, he's won two Olympic golds and 2 world championship golds and 3 world indoor heptathlons. They don't do all 10 events in the indoor, but they do.
And on the one hand, I saw the 2 gold medals and I was like, gosh, that really isn't very much.
No.
But then I started thinking about how many events are within a decathlon.
It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of work that you're doing.
The 10 events are so varied, and I don't have the list here. I should probably have the list here. Do they have it? Do they have the? Oh, they do. They do. So here's the 10 events that they compete in. The 100 meters, right? The 100 meters, which is fastest man alive, is 100 meters. So Ashton Eaton ran a 10.23. This is in 2015. That's not even the best one. Let me go. Anyway.
10.23.
Yeah, 10.23. He did. It's the long jump. It's 100 meters. The long jump, shot put, high jump, 400 meters, the 110 hurdles, the discus, the pole vault, the javelin, and the 1,500 meters. That's what makes up the decathlon. Those events are so varied that you're going from sprint to 1,500 meters, which is not a distance event necessarily, middle distance, let's call it, but it's 3 laps and it's almost 3 3/4 laps. It's a tough event to run. It's almost a mile. It's a metric mile.
Yeah. And I know you're not talking about a lot of time here, but the distance between Ashton Eaton and the fastest human alive, which is Usain Bolt, Ashton Eaton, you said, was 10.25?
10.23 was his.
10.23.
Yeah.
Usain Bolt ran 9.76.
Yeah, so half a second.
It's
a blink.
It's
a blink of an eye.
It's a blink, but it's Jesus. It's a big blink, right?
It is a big blink in terms of this. There's a lot of people between him. If you look at the all-time, there are high school kids that can run a better 100 meter, but not. You know what I mean? It's 10.23 is a world class 10.2 is a world class 100 meter. But anyway, that's to me is crazy that they can do that. His personal best. So the personal best in the 100 meters is actually 10.21. He did in Eugene at some point in time. So that's still pretty good. Anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a good. It's fun to watch these things. You know, I know like the pole vault record is over 20 feet. It's 21 feet or something like that. He did a pole vault of 17 feet, 8.5. You know, so there's these things where you see him go. You know, I tried pole vault once when I was in middle school, right?
Right.
Not in a match, in a meet, but like in practice, because my coach wanted me to fill in for somebody who was hurt or injured or sick, and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
can you do the pole vault?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let me try." Right? I could not convince myself to run full speed, throw this pole into this little slot, have it bend in half, and throw my feet straight up in the air and say, "Hey, Kay, you do the work. Yeah, you just sling me up there." I could not convince myself that that was okay. And
Your body's like, no, don't do this.
I would get about halfway up, and I was like, negative. This is not okay.
You kind of peel out your
Yeah.
fight or flight instinct.
Yeah, it just, oh man, it was bad. So I respect if anybody who can do pole vault and convince themselves that that pole is going to save them and going to fling them over the top. I can't do it.
It isn't going to impale them.
Yeah, and I'm not going to end up somewhere I'm not supposed to be, like it's going to shoot me into the crowd or something. Not that that's going to happen, but anyway. All right, so Ashton Eaton, I agree. That's a good one. I'm at number 2. Are you at number 2? We're at number 2. You ready?
Not quite. Yeah, you're at number 2. Yep.
I'm at number 2. My number 2 is Deion Sanders.
Oh, I almost put him on my list. I was really close.
Deion Sanders played for the Yankees, the Braves, and the Reds, and the Giants, right? He has 186 career stolen bases. He led the National League in triples in 1994 with 14. He is an 8-time All-Pro in the NFL, 8-time selected to the Pro Bowl with Atlanta, San Francisco, Dallas, and Washington. He was 4th in voting in the 1994 MVP in the NFL. He was the Defensive Player of the Year. He was the Defensive Player of the Year that same year with 6 interceptions. 3 of them ran back for touchdowns. He's one of only 2 players to ever score a touchdown 6 different ways: kick return, punt return, rush, receiving, interception, and fumble.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
What a stat.
I know, right? So that's a guy who can do a little bit of everything. He's the only player to ever hit a home run and score a touchdown, hit a home run in Major League Baseball and score a touchdown in the NFL in the same week.
I have heard that.
Yeah.
He's on my list. I have a list of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
He's on my list.
Yeah, and he's at Florida State. He ended with 14 career interceptions. And yeah, he was a shutdown corner in the every sense of the word, and was a good hitter. He wasn't a terrible hitter. His Major League Baseball career batting average 263, which is nothing to sneeze at. There's a lot worse players in Major League Baseball. His best year, I think I want to say it was 92. He hit 304 for the Atlanta Braves, stole 26 bases, led the National League with 14 triples in 97 games.
Just an all-around athlete, good at everything.
Yeah. In 4 games of the 92 World Series, he hit 533. Yeah. So it's ridiculous, right? Anyway, so yeah, Deion Sanders is an athlete. I just, he could probably have done something else if he didn't want to. Any other sport.
Well, and now Coach Prime lives near my town.
Right? You're going to get to see him.
Or I should say I live near his town. I have already looked at ticket prices. I plan on going to the Colorado-Oregon State game.
Yeah.
In November 4th. I want to be in a snow game. I want to see what that's like.
Yeah, it might be.
So I'm going to see him at least once, and I'm also working on possibly coming back to watch him play Oregon.
Oh, there you go.
In Eugene. So I get to see them both. That'd be really
probably
fun.
Get tickets for that.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. All right. Who you got at number 2?
All right. So my number 2, we mentioned him already.
Oh.
Is Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps, yeah.
Yeah, and this summer I said the tallest person on the list is 6'4". That'd be this guy. 23 gold Olympic medals.
Yeah.
23. My goodness.
Yeah.
He competed in 5. He won gold medals in 5 different Olympics.
Yeah. That's a long time to be good.
In case anyone's counting, that's 20 years.
Yeah, it's 20 years. 5
That's
Olympics is just a hair
years.
over 20 years, like 20 and a half.
He competed in his first Olympics when he was like 15, 16.
Yeah. He's awful good.
My goodness. So he was 36.
Right.
And winning gold medals still.
Yeah.
and obviously earlier I made my case for why why swimming is a important sport.
Right.
But there has never been anybody more dominant at a sport, at a single sport, than maybe Michael Jordan.
Right.
Right. But maybe not. Like, I don't even know about that entirely, because Michael Jordan still had a lot of struggle bus years. Michael Phelps didn't have any struggle bus years.
Right.
He was a sophomore in high school and was winning gold medals.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he was built for one thing, and swimming.
He was.
The length, and his
body's funky shaped.
Yeah, and he's got the semi-webbed toes or whatever they are that help him paddle. Anyway, it's crazy.
He's an absolute stud at what he does. But I've also watched. I was reading into he does track in his free time.
Yeah.
And he's got a really good track pace and things like that. We're not talking like Olympic records, but he'd compete with people in most sports and things like that. He's tall. I bet he could probably play receiver for a team.
Well,
with those speeds and that arm length, my goodness.
And I always say swimmers are good at breath control. So running shouldn't be a thing. Because, I mean, you hold your breath underwater, basically, for you know what I mean? You're going to breathe every so often, every so many strokes, but you have to get all that air in right now. And when they run, it can't be a problem. You know what I mean? It's got to be fairly easy for a swimmer to breathe when they're running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean.
So you're ready for this one? You want to know how long Michael Phelps can hold his breath for?
Oh, God. Yeah.
17 minutes and 28 seconds.
That's retarded.
Oh,
that's going to kill. That's going to kill him.
Hold on. Let me rephrase this. He broke his record of 17:28 with 22:22.
Most people will be dead.
22 minutes.
Right?
You could watch a whole Seinfeld episode underwater.
Especially if you go through the commercials. If you just
and try not to laugh.
Fast forward. And if you don't laugh, if you're not laughing, for sure. Oh my gosh.
David Blaine once held his breath for 17 minutes and 4 seconds, and this guy not only beat that, but then beat that by 5 minutes almost.
That's ridiculous. That's dumb.
So yeah, the amount of cardiovascular health you have, the amount of lung capacity and strength you have to do that, it's insane.
It is.
Insane.
I agree with you.
But that's my number 2. What you got?
So my number one is Jim Thorpe.
Thorpe, I saw his name pop up a lot in my research.
Jim Thorpe is a 2-time college football All-American and a college football Hall of Famer. He played running back, defensive back, kicker, punter. He was in the 1912 Olympics, winning the pentathlon and decathlon. He participated in 17 events, which is the most ever by an Olympic athlete. 6 years he played for the New York Giants in baseball. He was on the American Pro Football Association's Canton Bulldogs, and they won 3 professional titles in the AFPA, and he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He could do anything you asked of him. Just 17 different events in one Olympic Games he competed in. That's enough for me to go, okay, yeah, that's pretty damn good. Yeah, I don't know that anybody else could do that. But yeah, so, he was good at everything. And to be honest with you, he was actually, I don't even have all the stuff listed here about Jim Thorpe. Let me go look. But he played 2 seasons of semi-pro baseball before he went to the Olympics.
Yeah.
He was good enough to be good at anything that you put in front of him.
He's a career 252 hitter.
Yeah, I mean, not bad. It's not great, but
Not
I mean,
bad,
that wasn't his best sport. So
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Jim Thorpe. So there you go. That's my number one. So people can say what they want, but
no, that's not bad.
Yeah.
He's Native American?
Yeah, Native American.
He's a member of the Sac and Fox Nation.
Yep.
It's the first Native American to win a gold medal for the United States in the Olympics.
Correct.
Mm.
Yep.
Jeez Louise. Yeah,
Yep.
He won a decathlon.
So
he's incredible.
Thorpe has a monument to him in Oklahoma. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it features a quote from Gustav V, who presented him the gold medal in 1912 when he won the decathlon in the Olympics.
Yeah.
The quote from him was, "You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world." There you go.
Oh.
If the king of wherever they were, I don't even remember where it was. I was just looking at it. But if the king of wherever says, "Hey, you're the greatest athlete," you probably are.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's
there's
a pretty
that.
good deal.
I just looked at it and I was like, there's too many accolades to really mention, but he played so many things and he did so many different things and he was just, he was good at everything. I mean, that's what you're wanting in an athlete. He's good at, here's a baseball bat. Okay, whack. You know what I mean? Okay, here's a football. Okay, here's a javelin. Okay,
Okay.
whatever. I'll do whatever.
I is strong.
Yeah, right. I'll do whatever. That's fine. All right.
That's a good
So there you go.
All right, so I'm gonna hit my honorable mentions real quick.
Okay.
I'm not even really gonna give you their stats, but
Yeah.
Holly Holm, UFC.
Okay.
Career. What's it called? 38 wins in boxing.
Yeah.
21 wins, 21 wins in mixed MMA, and 22 in kickboxing. That's incredible.
And
Allison Felix.
And I'm glad you went with MMA as opposed to. Do you have any boxers on your list? Do you?
No.
Okay, because I thought about that. I thought about Mike Tyson
I
and,
did
and Muhammad
too.
Ali and those guys
I
that
thought
were
of Muhammad Ali,
dominant in
yep.
boxing, and I'm thinking, if you watch a
They're
heavyweight
built
boxing
for
match,
one thing.
yeah, if you watch a heavyweight boxing match from back in the day, there's a lot of standing around, catching your breath. I mean, there is.
Despite what Rocky would lead you to believe.
Right. It is not
there's a
just
lot of
constantly
standing
trading
around.
punches. There's a lot of standing around. There's a lot of just poking. Let me
But
just throw this at
MMA
him. But
is.
MMA is different. Yeah, MMA is different. And that's a different and since I've been watching that, those are good athletes. I mean, you have to be because you use every part of your body.
Yeah, and not only that, you're using every part of your body while having other parts of your body beat to shit.
Yeah, some guys beating on you.
You've got to remember to be strong and disciplined and smart while having your face hit. It's an extra element of
Don't
of
forget to
difficulty.
breathe. Don't forget to breathe.
So Holly Holm won.
Yeah.
Allison Felix,
Yeah.
track star too.
Yep.
I thought that was a really good one.
Yep.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mhm.
Some of the best leg strength
Sure.
and control the sport has ever seen. Bo Jackson was of course one that
Bo
came
Jackson,
up.
I have him on my list. Yep.
Two sport guy.
Mhm.
I think those were all like and Usain Bolt.
Yeah. John Elway
Usain
was on my
Bolt's-
list.
John Elway was on my list too earlier before I whittled it down. But my final person that I'm going to go with is Matt Frazier. Do you know who that is?
Matt Frazier. Why do I not know Matt Frazier?
Fraser. Yeah.
What did Matt Frazier do?
Matt Frazier is a CrossFit athlete. And not just any CrossFit athlete. He's the CrossFit athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He won the gold medal in the CrossFit Games for 5 years in a row.
I see that.
2016, 2020, and then he won a couple silvers before that. He is incredibly in shape.
Mm-hmm.
He can run. He can run with weight. He can pull. He can push. He can lift. He can jump. He can do everything. That's what CrossFit is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's every bit of fitness possible all at once. So Matt Frazier is my number one because he is the most in shape man, at least for, when he was, in his prime. He was the most in shape man ever.
Yeah, I can see that from the pictures.
He's 5'6".
Well, you don't have to be tall to be good.
He's a small guy, but he can do everything. And when you look at pictures of him, you're like, man, he looks really dense. He looks really thick, but he does everything.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's my number one,
okay.
Matt Frazier.
Well, that's a good pick.
I went off list for that one because
he
didn't dominate. He did dominate one sport, and by sport, the problem is CrossFit's not really a sport. CrossFit's a style of training, which is good for almost any sport.
Right. That's good. I didn't even think about that particular avenue of weightlifters or CrossFit or ultra marathoners or Ironman. I thought about Ironman athletes.
I entertained a couple Ironmaners, but the problem is there hasn't been anybody who's dominated the Ironman sport.
Right. I found that
in
too.
A while.
I found that too. And I'll be honest with you, I might put anyone who's ever completed an Ironman triathlon on top of this list, just because that's amazing.
It's incredible.
I mean, if you did that, ridiculous.
We had this guy come stay with us while he was doing a rotation while Cassie was in med school. And he came and stayed with us. His name was Dayton. And I'm talking with him. He's like, yeah, I was down in San Francisco for this, for that. And I was like, oh, what were you in San Francisco for? And he was like, oh, I was doing an event, like an Ironman event. And I'm like, oh, were you working the event? He's like, no. I did it. And I was like, you did the event?
What? Right.
He does not look like he was in enough shape
Crazy.
to do it. But man, he showed me pictures. He's done a couple of them.
That's amazing.
It's incredible
That's-
because it's not, and this is where I'll actually steer away from Matt Fraser, is that you don't have to have a very specific body type to be versatile,
Right.
which is what an Ironman competition is. And this guy killed it. It was incredible.
And
But
that's swimming, biking, running is tricky. And then to do the
Tricky.
Ironman part, which is like a marathon, right? The last part of it is running a marathon.
It's still a lot of legs and lungs.
Yeah, I mean, even the bike is like 100 and something miles, and the swim is 2 point something miles, and then you do the marathon. I'm like, you run them after you've done all this, you run a marathon, and I'm like,
you're done. Now it's time to marathon.
yeah, now it's time to marathon, and I'm like, there's no
what is it?
way.
24.2 miles.
26, yeah, 26.2.
26.2. My goodness,
Nope.
my feet would be blistered and killing me.
I'm not even sure I've run that far in my life, so total.
Really?
No, that's not true. But I mean,
I think you've done it.
20. I'm pretty sure, but 26 miles is a long damn ways.
That's a long damn ways. My goodness.
I like it. That was good. Well, that was good. What were we talking about? What were we going to talk about next week? I didn't write it down.
I
feel
had
like
it.
I
I
should've.
said it. I repeated it. Well, good news is we can go back and listen to the last show.
I'm going to
and
have to
double-check it.
because we were going to talk about something next week, and I don't remember what
Yeah.
it was, but it was good.
Oh, was it sports movies?
Yeah. So next week is sports movies. That's right. Greatest sports movies. Yeah. So come up with
Back
5.
half of the show, we're talking the best sports movies.
Best sports movies.
Oh, wait. So are we going like most impactful or
so-
most accurate to sport? Like,
No,
how are
not
we defining
necessarily.
that?
So I mean, the ones you enjoyed the most. So it could be that one
Okay.
that moved you and said, oh, okay, this was, it was inspiring.
So
Or
like the bench warmers.
if that's
Could I-
if that's
If that
you
if
can
that
put
hits
that
the
on your
you're
list.
okay with that? See, I'm not
Yeah.
okay with that. I don't want that on anybody's list.
It's not
I
on
want
my
to have
list.
movies that I
It
want to
won't
have
be on my
movies
list.
that offer both an accurate depiction of sport, as
Yeah.
well as having enough sentiment and
Or
and
comedy.
message
Or-
comedy to
right.
kind of progress it along.
Sure.
So
And I'm okay with that, but it doesn't have to be.
I want goofy movies out there.
So
I don't
here's-
want the basketball scene from Grown
I'm
Ups.
gonna give right. I'm gonna give away one of my picks. So
Oh no! Well, you're gonna have to pick a different one then.
no, but I'm gonna give away. There's no way I could. I mean, but I'm just as an example. I mean,
Right.
there's multiple things out there. So let's use an example.
Can I guess what you're gonna say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bull Durham?
No,
Oh,
the other one.
It's gonna be on your. Wait, the other one, like for love of the game.
The other no, that's terrible. Kelly
Field of
Preston is
Dreams?
terrible. Field of Dreams. Field of
Okay,
Dreams.
One of
is,
those 3 Kevin Costner baseball movies.
Field of Dreams is not necessarily a baseball movie,
It's
but
a movie,
but it has
that
baseball,
baseball.
in it, right? And it is one of
See,
those
I wouldn't even call it a sports movie. I'd say
emotional.
It's a
it absolutely,
drama
it's absolutely a
with
sports
the
movie.
backdrop of sports.
Wrigley. They go to Fenway Park,
I
right?
hear you.
They
I hear you.
I mean, this is a baseball adjacent movie.
I
That's right, but-
understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
but it hits you in the
feature
feels.
enough sport.
Mm.
It is a family story, is a father-son story, is a drama, it's
This
it's
is what
kind
we'll
of a
argue next
suspense
week.
at times, but it's not
We'll
a
argue.
sports movie.
We'll argue that next week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're gonna take it off your list now because we just
Nah.
argued.
It might be the best sports movie ever. We'll see.
That's fair.
But anyway, so I've got the trivia question and
Well,
the
let's hear it.
answer, which is my number 5 person, by the way. So Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question is name the only athlete to ever win a championship in 2 major sports, 2 major United States sports. Do you have an answer for this?
I thought it was Deion Sanders.
It is not. He did not win
Oh.
a title.
Did he come close?
No. Yes.
Oh.
But no.
No, but yes.
Yes.
But no.
Correct. The answer is Gene Conley. So
Huh.
Gene Conley played for the Boston Celtics, and he won 3 titles, 58-59, 59-60,
Yeah.
60-61. He averaged 6 points and 7 rebounds on those teams. This guy's 6'8", right? In 1957, he was on the Milwaukee Braves championship baseball team. He's a 3-time Major League Baseball All-Star. He was the winner of the 1955 All-Star game, winning pitcher. He went to Richland High School here just down the road. And he was a state champion in the high jump, went to Washington State University. So he started playing basketball and baseball, drafted in both, out of college. He played 1 year with the Celtics, left for 5 years to focus on baseball. came back and played for the Celtics, and then won 3 titles with the Celtics. I don't know another guy who's quit one sport for 5 years, come back to it, and still been able to be a part of a team that won 3 titles.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you look back at athletes who aren't from the modern era of medicine and science.
Sure.
Like a great example. So we talked about Ashley 10-2-3, right?
Yeah.
That's faster than anybody from the 1956 and before in any Olympics.
Sure.
In any of that time. So 18 whatever to 1956.
Yep.
He ran faster than anybody in that time.
Got it.
And that's still slower than the fastest records, that have been set since. Every couple of years, every couple Olympics or every Olympics, somebody sets a faster one.
Right.
It's hard to look at somebody in the past and be like, you were a fantastic athlete, sentimental athlete, absolutely important to the progress of these sports and important to the progress of being an athlete across multiple sports. But when you look at him and you go, man, this guy, Gene Conley, right? Is he half the athlete Deion Sanders is? Speed, power, everything? Probably not. Admittedly, probably not. Jim Thorpe's up there.
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe is up there.
You're talking about a guy who did 2 different things, though. You're talking about a 6'8" guy as opposed to Deion Sanders, 5'11". You're talking about a guy who is made to pitch the baseball and play power forward, small forward now, but power forward in the NBA. They're going to do different things.
They're all different.
Right.
Well, a pitcher, then you're talking about like how much does a pitcher move?
No, but you still
force
have
exerted per pitch is high, but
you
actual
still
total exertion over the course of a game.
You still okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. Simmer down now. Hold on.
But that's not to discredit his value. That's simply to say that when I look back at people, from like I said, I had Bo Jackson on my honorable mention list.
Yeah.
Right. He's right up there. But how can I ever say Bo Jackson when Deion Sanders? By the way, which I found out, Deion Sanders did go to a World Series,
right?
And they lost in 6.
Right, he did go to the World Series.
So he did come close to
yes.
winning 2 titles.
He's as close as you're going to get.
But Bo Jackson never came that close in either
No,
sport
not really. But Bo Jackson was
to winning titles.
Honestly, his career's cut short by injury because he was really good.
Well, and that's the Zion effect. Like you're kind of freakishly sized for what you're capable of doing, and it goes wrong. But I have a hard time. There's such a discrepancy between like Babe Ruth, right, the home run king.
Yeah,
he is not half the athlete.
No,
the bottom 50% of MLB players are nowadays.
Right. But the problem you get
they're better athletes. But you didn't have the stats. You didn't get the accomplishments like this person did at a time when there could All right. So there's a question: could Babe Ruth hit however many 60 home runs?
We'll never
61 home runs off of Clayton Kershaw?
We'll never know.
Off of a regiment of these MLB pitchers, you'll never know. But the answer is more than likely, if he stays at his level and they're at their level, the answer is more than likely no.
Right.
I think that's pretty fair to say. If you plucked him out of 19 whatever and you plucked them out of 2000 whatever and sat in all these pitchers and you sat them in a room, it would not work out well for the Babe.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
So the thing that happened was what you have to realize with Babe Ruth is that prior to 1920, right, the major league record for home runs. Well, prior to 1919, let's back up even further. Prior to 1919, the major league record for home runs was 16 in a season by Sox Siebold of the Philadelphia Athletics in 1902. 16. Babe Ruth in 1919 hits 29 with Boston and then gets traded to New York. The next year, it's 54 home runs. The next nearest guy was Cy Williams of Philadelphia at 15. He was way above any other athlete of his time, any other hitter of his time. And that's what set him apart. It's not necessarily that he was a great athlete. He was just way better than anybody else on the team in Major League Baseball at the time.
Well, and the thing that I'll give you is that this guy did 714 career home runs with a freaking cigar hanging out of his mouth.
Correct. With a gut.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if you were all right, take Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Pluck him out today or his prime.
Right.
And drop him into 19 whatever.
Right. I don't know.
He would absolutely murder. Well, first of all, they
Maybe.
wouldn't let him play, but that's a different story. But he would absolutely
This is a
murder
pretzel.
them.
And this is a hot buffalo
Hold on.
wing. Do you know what this is?
I got something going on
Bold
here.
buffalo flavored.
Sorry.
You got
Commercial popped up. Yeah, I did the thing.
Freaking ESPN loves to pop commercials.
This
and
is
stuff like
this
that
is
later.
baseball reference, but anyway, go ahead.
But like even like Albert Pujols, or Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr. You pluck them out of today,
Yeah.
and you or Mark McGwire, right? He would have been allowed to play. You drop him back into Babe Ruth's time, would have murdered
Maybe.
them. And yeah, there's a little bit of juicing involved. He
Maybe.
should have.
Should
The
have.
average pitch. What was the average pitch?
I get
speed
it.
in-
So
like, I'm just saying these guys they're more finely tuned.
Maybe.
So when I say the best athlete, I'm not just thinking about dominance at a moment. I'm thinking about dominance that has kind of sustained
Mhm.
both ways. You know, nobody's beating Michael Phelps.
right.
Nobody's beating Katie Ledecky. Nobody's beating Usain
Well-
Bolt. And those people haven't competed in their sports for 5-6 years.
Babe Ruth's not on my list, so
Well, but my point here is that you put a guy on your list who did a bunch of things and was incredible. But
In two sports.
I have two sports, two titles.
state high jump champion,
State high jump champion.
which
Wait,
that's
in high school.
yeah, but that's 3 different sports.
Hey, yo.
I mean, clearly he's good enough. I mean, he's not number 1 on my list. He's not the all-time greatest. But what I'm getting at is he's a guy who played at a high level and was good in This is a Celtics team that was winning title after title after title.
Yeah, but this
And he
is
was-
a guy who was playing 12 minutes one year, average,
but he's-
22 the next,
he's-
16, 18. He's a bench player.
There's 1,000 players who weren't on that Celtics team.
I didn't realize he
who
was
played-
6'8".
who played
6'8"
NBA
and Being
basketball.
a great baseball player is incredible.
Yeah, well, Randy Johnson, right? 6'11", 6'10".
Yeah, your strikes on well, but Randy Johnson was a pitcher. Your strikes on
Well, he was a pitcher too.
He's a pitcher too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's-
you can be tall
it's-
and be a pitcher because you can't freaking hit because everyone will
It's-
strike you out.
it's easier. He was actually a pretty good hitter for a pitcher. He hit lifetime averages above 200. So,
Is this before they made pitchers stop hitting?
yeah, well, yeah. Now that
For
now
the
you
most
don't. Now you
part,
have
stop
designated
hitting,
hitter
yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah,
it's dumb. But
that's funny. Yeah, 3.82 ERA, 888 strikeouts. That's a good number to end on.
he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't dominant, but he was good enough to play 2 major sports, win titles with 2 different teams, right? 2 different sports. He was good enough to be an All-Star Game MVP or All-Star Game winning pitcher, right? Which how many guys can say that in their whole life? All-Star Game. There's been
not that many.
there's been what 100 in the entire history of baseball. There's been 100 All-Star games maybe, and 100 guys have been the winning pitcher. He's one of them. It's just
This is Otto Graham won 2 championships.
autogram. Yeah, probably.
Interesting. It says he's one of 2 players. He's one of only 2 people. The other being Otto Graham to win championships in 2 of the 4 major American sports.
I don't know about autogram though.
Otto Graham definitely won with the Browns. And then what other sports did he play? I don't know. It's not actually showing anything.
Let's see.
What did Otto Graham do other than this? This is kind of strange. His Wikipedia page isn't. It just looks like he just played football.
Basketball
Unless they're-
scholarship. He might have played on one of
the
basket-
Rochester Royals.
Yeah, that would have been an
winning the
NBA team.
45-46 championship.
There you go. Well, there's 2 then.
It was the NBA before it was the NBL,
Oh, there you go.
National Basketball League, before the merger.
That's why it wasn't listed because it wasn't the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. But the point here is that that's a really cool thing that he won 2 in a thing. I know it was the answer to the trivia question not on your list, but I in my head it's like, how has nobody done that since then? There's so
Right?
many amazing athletes out there. People choose money.
You give up one over the other.
Yeah, you choose and you say, okay, I'm going to be a baseball player. I'm going to be
Sure.
a football player. I couldn't imagine that the Kansas City Chiefs would let Patrick Mahomes go play baseball.
And he probably
they
could.
don't want him taking a pitch. He probably could.
Yeah, he could probably be a great dual sport athlete, but they're not going to let him. That's not
Michael Vick could have run track and field.
Sure.
And yeah, that sort of stuff. Like Calvin
Right.
Johnson could have done a bunch of different sports.
Yeah. But
So.
yeah. Anyway,
Interesting. Good one.
there's a lot of stuff. That was good. That was a good discussion though. We'll yeah, sports movies are going to be interesting. That'll be another debate. Does it count as a sports movie? What counts as a sports movie? Anything that has a sport in it? Or
See, in my opinion, no. In my opinion, the central theme of the movie, the primary what's it called, carrier for the movie is a sport, right? But the sport has to be like the dominant setting for everything. So I'm trying to think about a couple of them. Obviously, like a movie like The Replacements, right? It's all revolved. The sport carries the different narratives.
Is a good
right?
movie. It's funny. I like that
It's
movie.
a great movie. For Love of the Game, the sport carries narrative. Bull Durham, the sport carries the narrative.
It's true.
All these different narratives, but it carries them between moment to moment. The reason why Field of Dreams doesn't hit for me is because sport is the backdrop of the narrative, right?
Sure.
These guys hearing ghosts.
Yeah.
And he's he's traveling to sporting venues and things like that. So he's going to these places, but you're not watching the sport. You're not listening to the sport. And yeah, he eventually builds a baseball field, and that's all cool and fun. Then a girl almost dies on a hot dog, and that's a different story. But
she's saved by a former Major League Baseball player, and
she's saved by a former Major League Baseball player.
His dad was a Major League Baseball player, and
yeah, it's the backdrop of the story. Not
most
the
of them
story.
are. Most of them are. For Love of the Game's not about the baseball.
It actually, For Love of the Game is the only other one that kind of like in my head. It's like, maybe you could rule that out because it's him telling stories about, or not telling stories, but it's him
remember
us time.
And well, it's so that story is presently in a baseball game.
Right.
We are presently in a baseball game, and he's remembering back things that happened, which is different.
Right.
So like Bull Durham, for example, is a love story. It's not a baseball story. It's a love story. It happens on the baseball field. It's a love triangle.
Right.
I mean, for lack of a better term, but it happens to be at a baseball field. All of these sporting events, all of these sporting movies that you're going to come up with, sports is really the backdrop. It may be more prominent.
Sports is the carrier. It's
the
car that you have to get in to take you from spot to spot.
The Replacements is a love story.
Well, but like think about The Replacements, exactly, right? It's a love story founded on the football field with a cheerleader,
and then he disappoints her
because of a bad game, and then he wins a game and gets the girl. But it's all centered around these moments that are very sports centric.
Absolutely.
It's I don't know. It's very tough.
So is Field of Dreams. It's centered around him building a field so his hero can come back and play baseball. That's the whole point of it.
Well, no, it's not so his hero can come back and play baseball.
He doesn't know that, but he doesn't know that.
He doesn't know what's trying to do.
He builds it for
here's a great
Shoeless
question. Moneyball.
Another good question.
Is that a sports movie?
Kinda.
Obviously,
I'm okay with
the carrier that drags it between point to point, but
it's the story of the general manager.
It's almost like a financial movie.
It is a financial movie. It is. It's all about the money aspect, the analytics aspect of baseball.
I start thinking about other ones. Ford versus Ferrari.
I'm okay. I'm okay with no matter what you put on there as a sports movie.
Okay.
If it had sports in it, not necessarily like just as
fairly prevalent.
It has to be fairly prominent.
Yeah.
It can't be like, oh yeah, he once played
movie, if you can think of one that is like, that's not quite sports, but like there's sports involved, but it's not sports. A good one for me, the one that comes to my mind is the movie Concussion with Will Smith.
Yeah, because it's not about
really
the
good
sport.
Movie.
It's
about the science.
The science, yeah.
Sport is a true backdrop to the other things that are happening.
Right, but I think you're going to have a set of movies here that are Friday Night Lights, Any Given Sunday,
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, exactly. Happy Gilmore.
Another movie that is
probably not a sports movie, but it is. In that, you know what I mean?
It's a reluctant superhero movie. You have characters in it that you'll remember. It's one of those great movies because you Shooter McGavin. You're going to remember that. You're going to remember, his caddy, Otto. Is it Otto? I can't remember his name. Anyway. Yes, Otto.
You're going to remember those
washing his underwear.
Those characters. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it a good movie is that it's memorable. You remember a line from it or two, right? Sometimes a lot more. But anyway,
I have not gone golfing once. First of all, you can't go golfing without somebody and them having talk about the green. I think it breaks to the left, or I think it breaks to the right. And then just immediately I say, that's just because you're wearing one shoe. Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I think we could be.
Happy Gilmore might be on my list. TBD though.
Yeah, right. There's more to follow. We'll talk about it tomorrow or next week. But
we've already talked about most of it.
and here's another thing. What qualifies as a sport for these movies. $1 Million Baby.
I think that's a sport.
The Color of Money.
Boxing. Ooh, yeah. What's it called? Billiards. Yeah. I'm on board.
Is that a sport? Is it a count? I mean,
yeah.
right?
Well,
yeah.
by that argument, you could also say that movies like Bring It On.
Bring It On. Yeah. Yeah.
Is cheerleading a sport?
Dodgeball.
Let's say for the sake of our argument, you can throw out some honorable mentions, but let's say for the sake of our argument, let's stick to the major sports.
Okay.
Soccer, baseball, football, basketball, hockey.
That's gonna throw out some great movies.
It is.
Just
It
FYI.
really. I've got like 5 movies in my head right now that are like
Raging Bull.
Like Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's a racing movie.
Raging Bull.
Racing is sports.
Rocky.
Raging Bull.
Rocky would be on my list.
They're gone.
No, come on. Chariots of Fire.
All right.
I mean, we might have to broaden it a little bit.
We will include.
There's so many.
We will include any major televised sport, but I don't want to see shuffleboard.
I'm not gonna. I mean, come on.
Other
than dodgeball
tournaments,
none of these are going to be on the Ocho.
Okay, that's good.
And I don't know that I'll put dodgeball
there's so
on my
many
list.
movies.
But yeah, there's so many movies, and
Dodgeball.
most of mine will be funny, just because I like the humor. I like the serious ones are great, but most of mine will have some kind of humor in them, just because I like funny sports movies. Just kind of how I roll. I'm not going to put Bend It Like Beckham in there. It's not going to be on my list. Sorry. If you're looking for that, gotta go somewhere else. Blades of Glory is not on my list.
Oh,
I know.
a good one.
It's still a good movie. It's just not going to be on my list. Oh my god.
Anytime, so I do it a lot. Not so much lately, but when I was working in sports, I'd bring like papers downstairs to people.
Yeah.
I always say Chaz Michaels is figure skating. I'd slap a paper down on the desk. You just gotta slap it down. Anytime you have to set a paper down, you just slap it down. You say that.
All right, we got to go. So
Yep.
Again, we're on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. Oh, you know what we should probably do? Throw a little music in the background. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us lambsports@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the website, which is literally just lambsports.com. Links to the past shows. Trivia question is on there normally when I update it. I mean, I don't have a staff, so it's hard to keep up to date with everything. Want to thank ESPN, and this thing's too short.
Didn't I make you a longer one?
You did. That is the longer one.
Oh,
But I talk a lot.
I'll double it up again.
It's all right. We can always go to another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, ESPN and the PGA Tour, LIV Golf. We want to thank Fox Sports, NBC Sports, ABC Sports, CBS Sports, the NBA, the NFL, NCAA, NHL, XFL, the USFL, which we didn't talk about, by the way. The USFL is still going, believe it or not.
No.
Not that anybody cares. Our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. We'll thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.